Section 1 goes over what's required by our bodies and our essential nutrients and basic nutrition of what we need, the food we take in. But Section 2 talks about how is this food taken apart. So the food processing. So there are main stages to food processing and how our diet is appropriately taken apart for our bodies. Step 1 is ingestion, the process of eating or feeding. Step 2 is actual digestion, the breakdown of food into smaller molecules. And there are 2 types of digestion. Mechanical, which is physical chewing and grinding, and then chemical, which is enzymes that help to take apart that food into smaller molecules. And then the taking in, which is absorption, taking up nutrients. Our cells or our bodies taking up those nutrients. And then things that we don't need are eliminated or passed in an undigested form from our digestive system. I don't think we need an actual visual for the steps to digestion, but showing you mechanical, again, would be the chewing. The only thing that I don't like about this picture is when you are having that mechanical digestion, in the mouth there's also enzymes that are released that start the chemical digestion. It isn't after you swallow the food. So it actually begins right at the mechanical step, the first 2, basically. Ingestion, digestion starts with the enzymes being released in your saliva. And then absorption, and then the elimination, as we already know. There's 4 main categories, the way that animals ingest or feed. One type is a suspension feeder, which is also known as a filter feeder. And these animals capture, trap, filter food from a medium, so something like water. Blue whale is an example. A flamingo is also an example of a filter feeder. Another type is a substrate feeder. So this is an organism that usually lives on a food source. So something like a caterpillar eating a leaf, it's going to hang out and pretty much stay on the leaf, or at least very near the food source. My least favorite, well, actually the last 2 are probably my least favorite, but one of my least favorite is a fluid feeder. And I hate mosquitoes a billion times more than bees or any other insect. So a fluid, we all know what a mosquito is, but a fluid feeder is a type of organism that sucks the nutrients from a host, and I hate them. All right, the last type, which I think I would hate too, at least in this picture, is a bulk feeder. So pythons ingesting huge amounts of food and then taking a while to digest it, so taking a couple weeks. Now, the other thing that I actually didn't know, because I guess I never considered it, when I think bulk feeder, I think pythons and all that, but we're bulk feeders too. We do eat large meals, although not quite like the python that's being pictured. But then again, we're full for a long period of time afterwards. And it has to do with the quantity that we're ingesting at one time and the way at which we ingest it. So we'd be considered a bulk feeder as well. So again, these are 4 main ways that animals feed or ingest. Most animals process food in specialized compartments, and there's 2 different ways or 2 different compartments that an animal can have. One type is an intracellular digestive compartment, and this is where digestion of food takes place inside the cells by food vacuoles, or lysosomes with special enzymes inside for breaking down food. Examples of intracellular digestion or compartments is phage or phagocytosis, pinocytosis, and sponges do this. Now, the difference between phagocytosis and pinocytosis is the phage brings in solid food particles. So the cell engulfs the food. Almost the way that I think of it is like Pac-Man. Pac-Man moving around eating all those little dots, and Pac-Man being the cell. So Pac-Man, or the cell, engulfs it, solid food. With pinocytosis, it's the same thing, Pac-Man, but instead of solid food, it would be liquid. Another type is extracellular, and this is where the food is broken down outside the cells. And there's going to be two examples, whether it's simple or complex. Gastrovascular cavity is the simple system of extracellular digestion, or alimentary canal is the complex. And I'll get more into those on the next two slides. A sponge is an example of where there's intracellular digestion, that intracellular digestive compartment. And again, the food being digested takes place within the cell itself, not looking at the whole organism as a whole. So sponges, they bring the food in. Obviously, it's aquatic, so it brings it in, and then different types of enzymes are able to break down the nutrients that the sponge needs living in water. The alimentary canal is something that we are familiar with. This is more complex, and it's a one-way street for digestion. There are two openings, a mouth and then an anus, to get rid of anything that isn't digested or not helpful for us. And there's lots of different examples. Real earthworms, again, not flatworms, are an example, and you can see the body plan. Grasshoppers, birds, cats, dogs, us, all have what we typically think of as a complete digestive system.